If I was just doing residential snow and you were doing residential snow and commercial, in the long term, I would kill you.
All right, Stefano Narducci, thank you for being on the show here. Stefano's from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Northern Ontario, a snow removal business, residential snow removal beast. They're doing almost 3,500 driveways. Now, Stefano was an academic weapon from the start. No, I'm joking. He's like myself, got out of school early, started working hard, using his hands. And most importantly about Stefano that I'm looking forward to talk about is understanding the importance of customer retention and reoccurring services. Now, Stefano, let's share your age real quick, and then we'll hop into it.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much for that beautiful intro, by the way. I'd like to appreciate you on that part. That was awesome. 23 years old for everybody watching, going on 24 here in about 6 months, but still a little bit far away.
So you're so impressive how young you are, and you've built this absolute monster of a business and really understand a few key important factors of it. Real quick, for those who don't know you, your upbringing, how did we get into this, finding this model that you're so passionate about that works, residential snow removal, but also your upbringing throughout the summer services? You've bounced around a little bit. Let's hear what the thoughts were going through that.
I'll boil it down without getting into too many rabbit holes because I'm famous for that. Started with landscaping, had some tools kicking around here at my parents' house, asked my father if I could borrow it, threw some ads up, started doing some basic maintenance, mulching beds, pulling weeds. And I started doing some grass cutting, and I started doing some small landscaping projects. And that was kind of year one. Going into winter, of course, as everybody knows, being in Ontario, we have a solid 6 months of winter around here. If you're in Northern Ontario where we are, you're pushing like 7-8 months. It's absolutely ridiculous. Our winters are very long. And going into winter on my first year in business after landscaping season, I was quite lost. I didn't really know what to do. I was almost debating going back to school, to be quite honest. And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? If there's one thing that we have in Sault Ste. Marie that is a huge market, it's snow removal. So I went all in with that and grabbed my partner and I grabbed our parents' snow blowers. We had a nice little trailer too at the time, an old 2002 Ford. We also had an old 2004 GMC, and literally just went door to door handing out mailers. Acquired like 30 customers, all contract based, all residential. There was like 1 or 2 commercial lots, but they were like super tiny, like, 4-car parking. So I wouldn't even really consider them like commercial. But anyhow, that led us to, I think it was about $20,000 in revenue, roughly, for our first year.
What year was this?
This was year 2019, going into 2020. So I would have been 19 years old.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So it was kind of all over. And then roofing, like how did that come about?
Oh, okay. Well, for roofing, it was actually 2 winters after our first winter. So our first winter, just to kind of finish on that story, got 30 contracts, did everything with walk behind snow blowers. I came across this business model that I'm in today with people using the residential snow tractor, if you will, Kubota L6060 with inverted blowers, or John Deere 4066Rs with inverted blowers, etc. And when I came across it on YouTube, I was like absolutely just astonished, like fascinated. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a lot more efficient than using a walk behind blower. This is a lot more efficient than using even a plow truck. It does a very nice clean job, and you could just bang out house after house after house. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So that same year, with a little bit of money from the revenue that came in and some money saved, I actually went and put a down payment on our first tractor, which was an MX 5400. And I actually got to use it for about a month to 2 months on my first year with those 30 contracts for about a good 5, 10, 12 snowfalls, if you will. And I went house to house with this machine with an inverted blower, way different setup than we have now, but like still had the same fundamentals, inverted blower, kind of some snow tractor modifications on it, but like definitely not souped up to what we have today. And I just it just kind of like all clicked in my head when after purchasing that machine. It really, really did. I was like, wow, this is definitely the future of residential snow removal. The efficiency from this machine, and if you were to compound it, I mean, you could grow this business through the roof. The market's huge, the demand's huge, the niche is strong. So I kind of went all into it. But to answer your roofing question, sorry, I had to finish that just so everybody knew. We went back into landscaping that year, had a great year of landscaping, finished that, went into our second year of snow, grew to 175 contracts from 30 with 3 tractors. And then it was right after that winter that we had 175 contracts with 3 tractors on the road. We had 2 employees that were roofers, very skilled roofers for that matter. And we decided to start a roofing company with them. And the reason why is because they were bagging us. They were so happy working with us over the winter. They're just, Stefano, you're such a good employer. We love to work with you. They really love my partner as well, Nick. And we got along so well that they kind of just threw some papers at me and said, hey, this is what it's going to cost to start a roofing company. We really want to do it with you. How would you feel? And I said, screw it, let's do it. So going into that summer, I ended up doing roofing and landscaping. And it was manageable, especially having a partner that helped a lot too. It was definitely manageable. It was one of the most successful summers we ever had in business, just from like an accomplishment standpoint with everything we had going on. And we crushed it, man. We absolutely crushed it. It was awesome. That was 2021. COVID was just kind of coming to an end. And I don't know, it was nostalgic that summer and that year, first year roofing. And we had some cool landscape projects go on that year. And it just really felt like the breakthrough for our company.
So that was the breakthrough back then, a few years ago. And there must have been something that opened your eyes, Stefano, because you're really, really focusing on the reoccurring service and understanding the value of the lifetime value of a client. What was it that opened your eyes to that, and now starting to shift into lifetime, not lifetime, but reoccurring services?
So landscaping, right? We closed down, and I wanted to go all into roofing because number one is I really think that you should stick to doing one thing. I don't think you should even do 2 things. I definitely don't think you should do 3. And if you're doing 4, well, you're probably not going to be good at any of them. So, and that's coming from me because right now I'm doing 2 things, but I'm in a seasonal business. So that's kind of my excuse. But to answer your question, landscaping closed down. We went all into roofing. I didn't want to run 3 different businesses, snow, landscaping, and roofing. So closed the landscaping down after that first summer in business. And with roofing, we said, you know what, let's go all in with roofing, close the landscaping down. And we did just that. And for 2 years, we ran just a roofing company and just a snow removal company, or residential snow blowing company, if you will. And we were successful with it until I kind of just had enough was enough. Like things started becoming very difficult to acquire customers. I do business with a customer once and then I'd never see them again. Property managers and stuff like that were cool, companies like that, because you get like multiple roofs with them every single year. But when it came to just a normal customer, normal residential homeowner, like we were seeing them once and never seeing them again. And finding them and getting them costed a lot of money and took a lot of effort. Like selling a $10,000 roof compared to a $600 driveway is a lot different. Finding those customers is a lot different. And just how much money, time, and effort I put into my snow business, I understood it very well. I really appreciated the reoccurring customer base that would come back every year. I appreciated the word of mouth. I appreciated how quick it compounded. And just the summer roofing business wasn't jiving with that. Like it felt like they were really far apart in terms of businesses. Yes, I was under the same hood of residential home services, but they were completely different niches. And that's what really, really bothered me. It really, really bothered me. And I'm also looking to scale this business. And I just didn't see the scale in having a roofing business in the summer and then a residential snow removal business in the winter. It just like didn't add up, So I decided to pull the pin on that. I did lose a lot of money, not a lot, but quite a bit. It was unfortunate because we had a lot of good guys, but I had to cut my ties with it. And I decided to come back to not landscaping. I got to be clear about that, but lawns. If I were going back into landscaping, of course, I'd be going back into, it's not really a reoccurring service in my eyes. I mean, there's upsales you could do to make it reoccurring. Like I said, with the maintenance and mulching, and maybe if you're spraying interlock or cleaning driveways, etc., or sealing asphalt, all that sort of good stuff. So I just decided, I was like, let me just start off simple. We're gonna do grass cutting this year. We're gonna scale it like we did with the snow business. We have all the customers. I've already acquired them. I've already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting this huge customer list. And I think it'd be a very simple cross sale over to them to have them come in and get on with our service for grass cutting. And that's what we did.
So really keeping the model the exact same is the
That's the whole
recurring
goal.
model is what I'm getting out of that. So let's speak on the Hormozi influence. I see that the direct correlation with you guys there. And like, how has that assisted you with your marketing and sales? And we can call this $100 million tips by Stefano.
That's awesome.
I'd love to hear how that's like directly influenced you guys and how you relate that to your success with the snow model now, and how you plan to have that help you for the lawn model.
Basically asking me like how he's influenced me, or like strategy I'm using from what he has to say. I just think that like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like how that's influenced you, and really the importance of understanding like the customer acquisition cost on a longer term, opposed to, like you mentioned, roofing. It's just a one-time thing, but when you're paying marketing for a snow removal client, it's many years, right?
Exactly.
If you don't mind touching on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just like a lot of what he has to say resonates with me because of the business I'm in. He loves service-based brick and mortar business. That checks one box. He loves reoccurring services. That checks another box. He is in love with lifetime value of a customer. That checks another box. So there's so many things that he talks about that are within my business, under my wheelhouse, and I see how successful he is. A lot of the things he says are just right up my alley with what I'm doing with business. And I think that I know we have something very strong on our hands with it being a reoccurring service, it being in very, very high demand. It's definitely its own unique niche, right? Like snow removal's huge, but we're niched down all the way to just residential snow blowing. Like when we talk snow removal as a market, it's like a 24-25 billion dollar industry, but we've niched it down all the way to just taking care of residential. And he also speaks about that as well. If you can find a really big market, a starving crowd of people, a business that has high demand, and you could niche it down to one thing within that market. Because you could say, hey, I do snow removal. But snow removal could mean you do hauling, you do shoveling, you do salting, you do commercial plowing, you do residential blowing, you do de-icing, melting, you do all these different services. But he really speaks about if you could find a really good market that's growing as well, okay? A market that's growing, and you could niche it down to something very, very, not small, I should say, but very particular, which would be residential, like how we did snow blowing. If you could find a customer who has a unique problem and solve it in a unique way, which I think we accomplish both those things. These are the things he says. And I'm just like, all the boxes check. So I'm like, I'm on the road to success for sure. And I'm on the road to scaling a big business, no doubt in my mind. And I proved that to myself, and I keep proving it to myself. That's what made me fall in love so much with not only Alex and what he had to say, but also with the business that I'm currently in. So yeah, I mean, to sum everything up, a lot of what he says resonates with me, and it aligns with what I'm doing.
So I know you guys are absolutely crazy with your marketing, between lettering up like city buses, customized like letters to clients' houses or possible clients' houses. I'm sure like Meta and Google, you guys are all over. How do you measure the lifetime value of a client with only having the history of just these few years you've been in business?
It's definitely very difficult, especially because our one corporation, which was Sioux Northern Landscaping Corporation, it also had roofing mixed in with it. So I was never really able to calculate like, okay, what was our EBITDA for our snow business, because roofing revenue and expenses were mixed in that, right? So I actually, after cleaning up an entire mess, we finally just got our business right now, and we have our own corporation for snow and our own corporation for lawns. But quantifying like acquisition costs for customers and stuff, I've never been able to do that because I made the mistake of having multiple different businesses under one corporation, and that doesn't work. One bank account, one credit card. You can't do that. It's just your accounting and bookkeeping becomes an entire mess, and then you can't run any numbers. It's hard to budget. You don't know what anything costs. So I just cleaned this whole mess up, and I'm starting clean slate. This is actually going to be my first year in business, being able to see, okay, how much should we spend in this department for snow? How much should we spend in this department for lawns, et cetera, because I've completely separated everything. So lifetime value, it's hard to quantify that question for you, because I've tried to run these numbers and it wasn't possible with all the different businesses mixed in under one corporation. So I had to take a guess just so I have some sort of answer. I mean, our return rate is 95%, which is insane. We had 1 year 98, and it's been last year was 90 something. So we're like roughly like we lose like 5% of customers every year. Last year was almost 10%, going from 2,000 to 3,300. But you got to remember that a lot of those people didn't leave because they were upset. Sadly, a lot of people die because we service such a large market of elderly people, especially Sault Ste. Marie. It's a very not old age population, but our old age population is growing. That's to say. So we had a lot of people die out of that 10%. A lot of people sell houses. So if I actually wanted to take a wild guess in terms of like percentage, I'd say we probably piss off between 2.5% to 5% of customers that will leave, and then they'll probably end up coming back anyways. So lifetime value, if we go, I don't know, $675 is our price for the season. Average price. We might be upping it, of course. Times that by 10. I mean, Alex always goes in 10-year increments, and it's supposed to be the gross profit, which I don't have those numbers, right? So I don't know. You could do 675 times 10. That's $6,750, right? But I think it'll be a little bit less than that if you were to look at the lifetime value of a customer. There's a whole like calculation chart that you could do to quantify that, but you need like your actual like numbers in front of you of expenses, overhead, etc.
Yeah, and to your point, if you have a P&L that's completely mixed together with 3 completely different businesses, it's that's hard to say. Like I made that same mistake, and within our business, you know, we've got our maintenance, we've got our hardscaping, and then we do snow as well. And being able to split those up is so important, whether it's different corporations or just on the profit and loss sheet, it's split up. So you can't improve anything you can't measure, right? And that's super cool seeing you open your eyes to that.
That's it, man. You can't improve anything you can't measure. And it was a big mess to clean up. Like it wasn't easy, especially just like how quick we grew as well. It was a battle. It took a year, almost a year and a half to finally have like everything completely cleaned up, different bank accounts, different debit machines, different credit cards, different policies, different everything to really separate the businesses. So I could be like, this is my snow numbers and this is my lawns numbers. Like, I don't want the mixed, I don't even want one bolt for snow going under lawns, right? Like I need my numbers to be straight because scaling is going to be very difficult if I can't measure anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think that's super, super good for guys to hear starting out, like just being so vulnerable. No one's perfect. There's always something to improve on in any business, right? Okay, let's tap into super quick, Stefano, of starting out. Like you mentioned, you went from, was it 50 clients, you did 170, and then you went to 500, and then you 4x that 500 or something crazy. Let's hear that breakdown in those few years.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my most passionate things to talk about is the scale. So started off with 30 contracts, got myself in the seat of a Kubota tractor with the inverted blower. And then the vision just popped in my head. And I was like, I'm scaling this bitch all across Sault Ste. Marie. Went from 30.
Just fast sitting in that tractor seat for 12-hour shifts, eh?
Man, everything happened in that tractor. I'll tell you that. Everything. My best thoughts ever were at my darkest times sitting in that machine blowing snow for sure. But anyways, 30 to 175. So we went from 1 tractor to 3 tractors, 30 contracts at 175. Then we went from 175 driveways to 500 driveways, contracts, if you will. And that was 3 tractors to 7. Then this was our biggest jump in terms of percentage. We actually got a huge plaque from our software company for this, which was pretty awesome. And I don't know for sure, but I'm almost like 99% positive that like we broke a record, not just in like Ontario or Canada, but like in the world for the biggest residential business that has grown in terms of percentage. And that was 500 to 2000. Like, remarkable year. Remarkable. 4x the business, heart beating, back completely against the wall, asking yourself every question in the book, because that was the most riskiest thing I've ever done, for sure. Like 110%. And that was 7 tractors to 22. So like this was just such a jump, such a learning curve, and on a huge winter too last year. So man, after I went through that year, I was like, I could do anything. I could literally do anything. Like, I'm confident, I'm capable. Like, I could do anything. I was so ambitious after that year. Like, I was ready to go to another place, but I was getting ahead of myself. I'm like, well, what money? What am I thinking here? I got a lot to learn. Anyhow, that scale then brought us to 2000. And from 2000, we went to this current year, 3,300. So that was another big jump. It wasn't 4 times, but that was still, 1,300 customers positive. That was still a really, really big jump for us too. And I learned a lot this year. And I'm lucky it was a light winter for sure, but I think we would have handled it if it was heavy as well. But yeah, that was the scale, brother. 37 machines, by the way. 22 to 37. I left that part out.
So let's highlight when you guys were getting the last season. You're at around, you got up to 2000. Highlight how, I guess, ballsy, for lack of better words, or like how much commitment's required. And you talk about throwing yourself against the wall is like, that's no joke. You're ordering these tractors way ahead to have them to somewhat guess the demand. And these are $100,000 machines. Any normal person, Stefano, would not have guessed 4xing a residential snow business. I'll make it how you were able to calculate that risk, because that's impressive.
I just not only do I hold a lot of confidence in myself and my team, but I also I just seen it through. I seen the vision. I seen it. Like, if I put forward the right amount of effort, like anyone, you could achieve whatever you desire. Whatever your vision is, you put the right amount of effort forward, you will achieve it, period. And going from 175 driveways to 500, I seen how big that jump was and how successful we were. I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take this to the moon. I want to make sure we lock down the city. I don't want no competition to be able to start up and see that this, business model is super unique and it's scalable, et cetera. So I said, let me just wipe everybody out and just absolutely blow this up. And what's required from that, from my standpoint, is you got to have really good leadership. You got to have a lot of confidence, because you got to be able to hold the team down. Okay. If you're shaky and nervous, you got to remember, like, man, I'm throwing dice on the board and I need to roll 2 6s, because if not, I'm going bankrupt. And that's just the truth. You just said it yourself. I'm ordering $100,000 pieces of equipment months in advance without even knowing if I'm going to get the contracts or not. It's the scariest thing ever. So, like I said, you have to hold a lot of confidence. You got to know yourself and know what you're capable of doing. You got to put disgusting amounts of effort and work forward, strategize. You got to definitely fail, learn, and repeat, try again. And, what that felt like was just having basically one way out and not pushing until you got there. And that's all I did, man. That's literally all I did after working all spring and summer on building a new website, building a new brand, learning tons and tons of marketing material on how to acquire customers in a reoccurring service based business, learning the machines in and out, doing everything I could to soak up this business. I felt confident enough to be like, you know what? I'm flicking every trigger I got and I'm going from 500 to 2000. And what kept me going is knowing that if I didn't achieve that after all the money I spent, that I was going to be completely ruined. I was going to be bankrupt and I was going to have absolutely nothing. And I did that. You got to take huge risk in entrepreneurship, especially if you want to go anywhere anytime soon. I mean, you could stay stagnant and grow your business very incrementally, very slowly, just like you've probably seen from a lot of successful entrepreneurs in your hometown. But if you want to take things to the next level, man, it's one way out, back against the wall. You need to roll 2 6s. There becomes a time though where it does get calculated. I truly believe in that. There's a time where it's you're not going to take risk like that again. That's just, you needed to do that to get to the next level. There's always going to be risk in entrepreneurship. It's a never ending battle. It's you win some, you lose some. But for scaling like that, I would say I recommend it to everyone to do, but definitely be prepared and know yourself. Know what you're capable of doing. Because if you don't have sheer confidence, you don't have leadership, and you don't have the desire to fulfill what you've put your name behind, your business behind, your money behind, you're going tits up, man. That's it. You're done.
I'm sure you learn way more than about yourself, but also just in general, way more going through a season like that than anything else can teach you. Any of these bullshit online courses, or sure, mentors are great, but when you throw yourself in the deep end right away, that's the only way to learn, in my opinion. And this reminds me of a quote we have at our shop. It's may God have mercy upon our enemies, because we won't. And I love that. I love that. So Stefano, from a marketing perspective, what had to happen to obviously the demand is there, great, but you're a newer company coming in, competing for owning the market share. What really had to happen, and what worked for you guys?
I think that, like I said a little bit earlier, you need to pick a market. So I chose snow, and then you kind of got to niche it down to something a lot smaller than just snow. So I decided to do residential snow blowing. You have to have a unique solution, which I think a tractor modified to do snow come into your house to clean a driveway in under 2 minutes is very unique. And you got to solve a problem for a customer who has a unique problem. And I think that residential snow is definitely not a unique problem, but when you chunk everything down like that, it puts you in a position to be able to really hone in and execute on one thing, which I strongly believe in. And then once you could quantify that all together and make it compound, you could really scale something that is, profitable, and it is high in demand. But you got to make sure the market's growing, or the niche you pick is growing. You got to pick the right market. Those things are very important. And then after that, it's really just creating your offer. Once you could really dial in a good offer and back it up with exceptional service, I mean, the sky's the limit. Now, marketing tactics, there's so many different ways to acquire a customer. I think that certain businesses are different than others, especially if you're doing like B2B offering, business to business, or if you're doing business to consumer. There's a lot of different things and tactics that you could use. But I tested everything. That's the thing, right? I just tested everything, and I didn't stop, and I tried so many different things. I found out what worked, found out what didn't, but I wasn't scared to fail, and I wasn't scared to spend the money. I was like, what's the worst that's going to happen? This $10,000 investment might get me 20 customers, or it might get me 200. I'm going to roll the dice either way. So I tested and tried and tested and tried, inputs, outputs, until I kind of eventually got an equation that I'm like, okay, this is what works. And I still don't feel entirely confident about it. I think that I don't think I'm currently working on it right now. Winter just ended, man, and I'm already back in it, because it takes 8 months of our year up. We're only 4 months of summer. Lawns is a great business as well, but my heart's in the snow business, my time, my energy, everything I'm putting towards that. So I'm currently working on it again, and there's some things I need to dial in. I'm reconfiguring my offer again. I'm adding on a bunch of new services, and not services, but support for our service, I should say, and just some great customer experience features, trying to streamline the process of, mitigating damages, gravel displacement. I'm working on so much right now to not only execute on scaling even larger, but to also make our customer experience exceptional. I think you really need to find a balance when it comes to that. I think that there's a lot of people who can market and actually grow a company. Well, then it becomes a point where you might grow it up, and then you'll start going on the decline because you didn't put any time or effort or money into your actual service. And that's the thing. That's the thing, man. I'm not trying to compete on price. Okay. I'm not trying to compete, period. I'm looking to provide value. I want to sell. I want customers to make a decision on my service based on value, not price. Every single time. I don't want them to ever make that decision. Oh, you know what? Northern Snow is $50 cheaper. Let's hit them up. No, 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 no. It's like, I want you to hit us up because of the exceptional value that we offer. I don't want to be in the commodity. I don't want to be a commoditized service, you know, like I don't want to be like a gas station, if you will, and you're driving down the road just to get 5 cents cheaper. You know what I mean? Like I just don't want to, I don't want to end up in that market. I want to provide value in different places, exceptional value that I basically boil myself down to being the only one in the marketplace doing that. And that's what I'm doing right now currently. People say we have competition, but nobody provides as much value as us. So in my eyes, you're not competition. You're in your own league and I'm in my own.
Those just starting out stuff, no. It's easier to say this from your perspective of being very, very established. You have a proven record that your guys' value and service is way better than anyone else. And I'm sure clients, when they sign up, don't even look at the price. They know you guys are the best. But for those just starting out, there has to be a fine line of scaling and also being able to compete within the market, right? Like when you came into the market, the price straight up is a concern. And when you're growing and scaling this fast, where did you draw that line of being a little bit more on the economical side with helping scale, if that makes sense?
Like, are you basically asking like what helped me get there or what I chose, like where I chose to put my eggs? Is that kind of what you're trying to get at?
I'm trying to get at pricing on how much wiggle room when you're just starting out do you give to take over the market, right? Because you can lower your pricing, take over the market, and then once you're up there and you're known, then slowly start to bring it back up to be more profitable. But when you're tapping into a new market, those first few years you're just starting out, if you're the most expensive, it's going to be very hard to compete, even if you have the best value.
Yes, it will be 110%. But if you charge enough money, then I mean, you won't really need to compete. Like you'll kind of be in your own league, like I said. So when you're first starting out, you're asking me if I go into the marketplace and I charge too much for the same service that everybody else is providing, I'm not going to get any business. Of course not. You're providing the same service everybody's providing and you're trying to charge more money. You're in a commoditized business. Everybody's going to try and find the cheaper price because all the value is the same. Now you go into a business, okay, not a business, I want to say a market, and you find a niche, and it could be competitive, and you try and space yourself out from the rest by offering a unique solution and having tremendous amount of value backed up. You will basically create your own bubble. Like you will be like, there won't be really competition because you provide something completely different. That's what I'm trying to get at. How can you do that? It takes time. It takes effort. It takes a lot of just beating at the bag, lots of punches. So I noticed that 2 years ago with the business that we're in is that like, if I just keep putting more value into this business, I'll always be playing in my own league. Like I'll just be separate from the rest. I will have my own thing. And I've just been really, really focused on building a value-driven company and not so much competing on price. I really haven't even put effort towards that. I've put more effort into, yes, starting at a certain price, coming in the marketplace and gradually bringing it up every year, because like any business, you should increase your prices every single year, slowly. The whole world goes up every year. So does your business. But man, I would say for anybody watching who's starting out, you want to make good money and you want to find a business that works, pick the right market, make sure it's growing, make sure there's demand, and go in with the right price point. But start off by putting more of your time and effort into the value of your service. Okay, that's all I could say.
So you're mentioning that was your main focus starting out. You weren't worried about the price, you're worried about the value. Well, but and next question would be is how, like, that's the value's not known yet. Northern Snow is they're so brand new. Sure, they're great, and you know that, but not all 3,000 people in Sault Ste. Marie.
No, but the value's in the service. So it's like anything, it compounds, right? So even if you're not known and you're going into a marketplace, if you provide more value than your quote unquote direct competitor, like a lot more value, you're essentially just your own person, your own league. You're not really competing on price. That's what I'm trying to say. Build so much value that the consumer is receiving, improve your service so much. I know it takes time, but just come out the gate just being different is what I'm trying to say. Even if you're in the market of, say, landscaping, huge market, very, very competitive. You got to just beat the hammer and figure out everything you can to be different from the rest. And that's how you could get away with charging more. Charging more and scaling a business because you're different. You're just different.
The audience listening, and they're saying, Steph, no, yeah, that's easier to say. It's easier said than done. But I want the audience to understand the level you guys are at. Sending texts before they come to every visit for snow removal. They have logs on their website. Their customer interaction and customer service is so next level. And this is what Stefano is referring to, of really honing down on these systems, these customer experience, because anyone can just plow a driveway or blow a driveway. But it's everything else that Stefano is referring to that is so important. And then the second part of that, making that known to the demographic you're going after. I think that's awesome points.
Let me hop in here and do some explanation, because I'll explain how we accomplish that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, because then I'll make more sense of what I'm saying, because everybody's probably listening and they're like, dude, this guy's full of himself. Like, you got lucky or whatever the case might be. Yeah, sure I did. Whatever. We all get lucky. We entered a marketplace. We found a niche, residential snow. And the first thing we did off the bat was we chunked it down to servicing our customers in a unique way. Okay. Which was incredible. Now, there was competition when I came in. There was a big company doing 300-400 driveways, almost 500. That was the Weed Man. Same idea, but a little bit different. He had the tractors with the inverted blowers as well. There was another company, B&W. There was, Topaz with smaller size tractors as well. There was Four Seasons. Like, there was guys in the marketplace with tractors doing something very similar to what we were doing. So where I put all my time and attention and focus into was just being different, not only even from a brand perspective, and that's a whole other rabbit hole I could get onto too as well. If your brand's not straight, your value could be through the roof, but you got to make sure your brand's straight, or else it's not going to go well for you. But that's completely different. And when I came in, I was in a very, very competitive commoditized service, if you will. We were the same price. Like, what we came in at was definitely just average compared to what other people were providing. But you want to know the problem? This is the problem. We were all providing the same amount of value. We were all doing the same thing. Nobody was doing anything different. We were all providing residential snow blowing, snow removal, whatever you want to call it, plowing. So I was like, what could we do to stick out from the rest? Oh, did I ever go all balls to the wall doing that? So what do? You get the pickets. That was number one. Not only was that a great marketing tactic, but customers absolutely love that. It's just nice getting something like that when you pay for a service. It feels like you've been taken care of, you're cared about, you're locked in for the season, you don't need to worry. It's a good feeling. Brought the pickets in. Then I decided to get the software, which automatically sends notifications to customers, emails before we dispatch, the whole 9 yards. And I'm talking, this is like back on our first year. This is when I was trying to figure out, okay, how could we stick out from the rest? And we modified our snow tractors to be more of like the top of the line of that equipment. So, getting like the Kubota L6060s fully modified to do snow with the inverted Pronaville Cyclones. Like, we were using top tier equipment. So you were getting better scrape quality on your driveway. You were getting just a cleaner job. We were able to get closer to garage doors, closer to cars. So that made our service a bit more valuable there as well. Where we added value as well, I'm not going in this rabbit hole, but our brand was strong. Okay. You have a beautiful brand and you have a very, very valuable offer. You are going to absolutely destroy your marketplace. So all the brands around town here, I mean, Weedman's always had a strong brand, but their offer wasn't right. That was the problem. There was no value. They were in the commodity. They were just a normal, regular snow removal company that didn't really have anything special going on. And we had a strong brand with all those other value pieces that we added. We made our customer experience the best that it could be. And there was definitely a lot of other things we bolted on in terms of value for our first year, but those were just some of the first things that come to my mind. Now, the amount of money we've spent for customer experience and quote unquote value to the consumer is just insane. Like, I keep pouring money in every single year just to drive this business on value and be different from everybody else. I could give you examples of like live tractor location. So you could like go onto our website and you could be our customer. Not only did you just receive a text message to say, hey, the tractor's 30 minutes away from your house, please remove your vehicles from your driveway because we're going to do a second clean. Fuck, we've already been there once to clean it. Now we're coming back a second time to clean where your car was parked. You could actually go on our website and type in your address and track where that tractor is live on a map and see, okay, how close is it to my house? Things like that. Our communication when we just did a survey was above all. So I spent a lot of money having extentful customer service reps in my office, like definitely overspent to make sure that our support was through the roof. Our communication was through the roof. So adding value in those aspects as well. Constantly testing and trying new equipment to figure out how can we get the best scrape quality on driveways? How can we pick up the most snow off the road? How can we get closer to stuff? Things like that. Picking the right tractors that are the most efficient for our operators so that they could get to houses quicker, clean the driveways quicker, and not cause so much damages. Like, just all these things, man, just trying to make the service better and providing more value to the customer and also the company. And that's something I've never let off. I'm working on that right now. Like, you think that there's nothing more you could do, and then you sit there and you chew on it, and you chew on it, and you chew on it. And I'm like, holy shit, it feels like I have the most amount of work put out in front of me than I've ever had this year going into my next season. And it's like, how could you say that, Steph? No, you're at 3,300 customers. It's like, no, it just doesn't stop. When you have ambition to keep making your service more valuable, to be the best, that light just never turns off. It doesn't. So we're working on some big things to enhance our customer experience right now, like some really big things that could either go well for us or go wrong for us.
Well, just as a listener and you talking about this, it seems wild, and I'd like you to tap into this. $600 for a season's pass. You guys are in Sault Ste. Marie. You get a pile of snow. You have $100,000.
$675, and it's probably gonna be $700 this year. But yeah, it's a little bit more than that.
Between $600 and $1,000.
Yeah. There we go.
$100,000. You have $100,000 tractors. You have operator salaries. You have all this marketing that we've just tapped into and talked about extensively. How the hell do you make money doing it?
Well, I'll sum it up very, very simple for everybody, because I could explain a lot, but you need to scale. You have to scale. That's how you make money in this business model. I'll keep it short, sweet, and simple, because I could explain a lot of other things, but you'll kind of learn and get the fruit from your labor as you get into this business. But you need to scale. You need density. You need house after house after house after house. And that doesn't mean coming into the marketplace and charging a dirt cheap price and taking over. Because if you try and do that, you know where you're going to fail? You're going to fail in your service. That's the problem. That's what a lot of people do. That's why this business model in Montreal is so popular, but yet such a failed business. It's like such a failed business in Montreal because it's became a commodity out there. Nobody's working on improving their service to be a more valuable company and stick out from the rest. They're all competing on price. So you know what happens is one new guy starts up and then he flops in 2 years. Another new guy starts up and then he flops in 2 years, because all these guys are trying to come in the marketplace and do the same thing that I'm doing, but say, hey, we could charge $500 and undercut them by $100. Well, man, I'll tell you, you'll want that $100 if you want to keep customers happy and improve your service, right? So that's how companies go belly up a lot, is because they try and come in this business and focus on undercutting, and that will get you the scale, which makes this company profitable, but then you'll lack service. So I'll give you perspective. Say, for example, I'm a new company coming out and I come into the marketplace. Call me Snow Pro. Okay. That's my name. I see Northern Snow. Wow, that company's on fire. I come in and I charge $100 less per driveway from Northern Snow and try and match their same service. I try and provide as much value as them. I try and be as quick as them. I try and do everything just like them. I promise you, you will fall short and go bankrupt after 1 year. It's just not possible. If you want to come into the marketplace now where we're at and come compete, you're going to have a very hard time because we've poured so much money into building a service that's really different from everybody else's. And yeah, I mean, I know you asked me I'm very passionate about this, sorry, but I know you just asked me a simple question. But it's funny. It's funny, man, because I know it keeps happening. We watched it happen with a company last year. A brand new guy started up. He grabbed the pickets. He tried to do exactly what we did. He undercut us by $250, took like 300-400 customers from us. And then 3 snow events in, went completely bankrupt, made a bunch of articles in our newsletter and Suit Today. And I know other people are going to just try and keep doing that. And I recommend for anybody watching from my hometown, or if you're going into a new marketplace, do not enter this residential snow business model and try to think that you're going to come in and undercut and then just magically get all the customers. You might for a year, but then watch how quick they go back to the better service. That's
CSRs. Those CSRs are not free. The software is not free, and the best is not free. And that's
no, man.
Sounds like, to recap what you're just saying is in my.
Thank you for summarizing it, because that's true. The customer service reps are not free. If you want a beautiful location, it's not free. If you want good apparel for your guys to look presentable, it's not free. If you want nice looking equipment, it's not free. You know, if you want a nice brand, it ain't free. If you want to provide value for your customers, it ain't free. If you want to enhance your customer experience, it ain't free. So like, we put a lot of time and money into these things to be the best. And if we were just competing on price, man, my company, like, I don't even know what it would be. Like, I don't even know what it would be if we just came in to compete on price. We never even looked at the price. We just came in, said, this is what we think's fair, and just grew it from there. And it's worked really well.
So let's talk systems. And you know, if you're trying to keep this on the low or not, whatever, but say what you feel comfortable with, and like 5 key points I would like out of this when building reputable, scalable businesses, with keeping a franchise model in mind, or copy and paste model with these recurring services we see often. And what are your 5 things that you're really focusing on, from systems, from processes, from culture, if you don't mind tapping into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to give away all my nuggets, but I'll definitely say like the core things that I think everybody should focus on within their business. But I'm going to be particular to my niche. You got to definitely streamline the training and operating procedure. So making sure that training is very, very simple. Don't overload the guys. You got to remember that these guys have hearts and they're humans. I love them to death, but they're definitely lower on the employment level, if you know what I mean. So sadly, you got to make things like as simple as possible. Like, don't try and frustrate it. Don't try and overwhelm them. Really streamline your training procedure and make sure that the equipment is easy to use. Okay. Now that's going to bring me into number 2. So that's number 1. Training, operators, make sure things are streamlined on both those fronts. Make it as simple as possible. Simple. That's all I could say. We have it in our slogan. Snowblowing simplified. Dumb those 2 down. Now I'm going to go into number 2, and that's the equipment. Okay. Very, very, very important that you run all the same equipment. You don't want all these different models. Learn from my mistake. I'm going through it right now. I have 5 different model tractors. And yes, it just looks like, hey, you got Kubota and John Deere. How's that 5 different tractors? Well, there's 5 different models. I got 6110M, I got 4066Rs, I got Kubota L6060s, I got M5 111s. So I guess that's only 4, but I did have some other ones that were sold. And what I'm trying to do is really streamline the process of operators learning how to use these machines and getting from one machine into another. So a common problem that we face, not only from the shop perspective, but out in the field, is we'll teach a guy how to use a John Deere 4066R. His John Deere 4066R will be broken down. He'll have to hop in a backup Kubota L6060, and the controls are just completely different, which he goes out in the field. He's way less efficient than he was in his machine. And then on top of that, he's not comfortable in it. He ends up damaging something. So that happened a lot this year, where a guy would hop in, one model machine, go into another, and then damage something because he wasn't comfortable with it yet. He didn't know his surroundings. He just didn't have a feel for it. So huge bottleneck in the business. If you guys want to run an efficient system from an equipment standpoint, make sure you have one big tractor, one small tractor, choose your models, and that's it. You go buy all these different machines, all these different blowers. You are going to have endless headaches and pour a bunch of money down the drain for no reason. So take that here. That's literally like, if you're at this scale, that's like a $1 million lesson right there. 100% $1 million lesson, because I'm going through pain right now and hell and money rinsed down the drain, trying to have my equipment be the exact same across the board. Number 3, systems. I don't know how much I would call this a system, but having just like a bulletproof office, I think is very, very powerful in this business. You're in a customer service based business that has very intense and high demand for support. And there's no real time on your side. So you need an army in the field and you need an army inside the office. And I don't think anybody should shy away from that. Rule of thumb for me, if we want to kind of, say a little bit as a system, make sure you are using software as much as you can. Software for the business, for operations, software for organization, software for support and ticketing systems, software, we're in 2024. It'll help you big time within your company. Try and use some AI generated stuff if you can as well. Now I'm being a bit biased because we do use it, but not as much as I'd like. I think it's going to become more popular in our company, but number 3 would be that aspect of the business for sure. Big time. Just making sure that you have one customer service rep per 1,000 customers. Even if you had 1,000 customers, I'd have 2 because you're small at that point. But like where we are now, we have basically 3 customer service reps for 3,300, and our support and communication, like the survey responses, was ridiculous. Like we murdered that end of the business this year, like murdered. But that one's big. Dumbing that one down. Another system to kind of make this like remodelable or franchisable. Is that what you're pretty much trying to really get at, eh? So a fourth would be, there's so many. Oh my gosh, there's so many. The equipment's so important. The operators is important. I could dive deep into some cool things we're doing, but they're kind of secrets. Fourth. I think it's really just, and you could say that it's a system or maybe it's not, but just really dialing in your marketing and your approach to your offer, I think is really, really big. Because if you want to go into another city and kind of rinse and repeat, if you will, you're going to need to really make sure that's all aligned and test what you've done somewhere else that's been successful and do it there the same way. So if you're starting off in one place before you go to the next, like you got to make sure your offer is bulletproof. And I would say ours is bulletproof, but like it's never good enough for me. So I'm still continuing to rebuild it. But I could confidently say that from a branding and marketing perspective, once you got that dialed in, and you've seen good return from customer acquisitions through your branding and marketing, I would say that you're ready and you have a decent system in place to be able to scale to a new location. Fifth,
four, five. I'll stop you there with like how are you measuring that? Like we can say a system is great, but like what does that mean? What metrics can be put behind that Stefano, for us to measure whether it's marketing or customer acquisition costs? Like, how are we able to measure and then also improve that?
You know, a lot of it's been shooting from the hip from me, like being strategic as possible, knowing what I knew at that time. But like, I'd be ignorant to say that I know the answer to that. So for me, honestly, it was just spending X amount of money and getting a return back in customers, right? So like measuring it was difficult for me. Moving forward, I'll measure it. If that's what you're asking, like now I'm going to be able to measure it. So I'll be able to be a lot more strategic with it. You know, be able to definitely save a lot of money and kind of, you know, take down the plane with one bullet instead of a whole clip, if you know what I mean.
Well, and that's what I want to get at, because I
Yeah.
see it way too often, just throwing money out the door, and it's wasting money on marketing is so easy if you don't know what's working. And I'm just as bad and guilty for that.
Yeah,
and
you could do that really
that's why,
easily.
I'm
Like
asking, like, how
we did that
the
for
importance
roofing.
of figuring out what works.
100%. And I'm going to answer that because that happened to us in roofing. Like we spent so much money on marketing, and I was like, I had my offer dialed really in, but that company just like I overspent on marketing and it felt impossible to get customers. And that was definitely partially, you know, something from our end. I'll definitely take accountability for it. We could still be doing it and still going with it successfully, but like the starving crowd wasn't there like the snow. So what I'm trying to boil this down to is it comes down to the market that you choose. It really, really does, because you go out there and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing for a business like roofing, and the return you're going to get might not be the same as doing residential snow. I know in my market in this city that those two businesses have a way higher demand than one another, right? So what's that mean? I'm going to bring in more money. I'm going to bring in more customers if there's more of a demand. It's black and white. It's super simple. So that's why we were way more successful with snow than anything else, especially landscaping. Like landscaping, like, man, I see you out there doing these beautiful projects. Like that doesn't really happen here. That's like, there's a very, very small niche for that. We're a lower economy. Like landscaping's not a thing here. I come down south where you are in Oakville. You guys got concrete jungles in the front and the backyard. People don't do that here. So I knew right away that was a business that didn't really do too well. And with roofing as well, it was the same thing, just overspending on marketing and not getting the customers I desired. So if you want to have your business be successful, choose the right fucking market. You have to choose the right market. And then you can niche it down from there, like I said. So like landscaping's vague. Like there's so many components of landscaping, but you could chunk it down to being just like I don't know, an expert at asphalt sealing. Like you could just be known for doing that and having an incredible, valuable offer that is different than anybody else's, and go into the marketplace and absolutely smash it. But you got to make sure the demand's there, and you got to make sure it's a growing business as well. So you got to check these boxes off, man. You have to check these boxes off if you want to build a very successful business that will make big money. This is what I believe in. This is what I believe in.
So for the folks listening, dial in your market, or dial in,
choose your market, choose your market,
and
choose it,
and then figure out the offer. Correct?
Yes, sir. Number two is the offer. 5. No, hold on. Market first. Offer number 2. Okay, dial in your offer for the market. Pick your niche within that market, because like I said, markets are vague. Snow removal is vague. You see how I niched down right to snow blowing residential? I could have went the avenue of snow hauling. I could have went the avenue of sanding. I could have went the avenue of doing everything. I niched it down to one thing and became really good at it and figured out how to make it as valuable as possible, because I was able to focus on one thing and beat it to a pulp. You know what I'm saying? And then make sure it's a growing market. That was number 3. And make sure people have the price point to afford what you're offering as a service. So that's the 4 components right there: market, offer, niche, growing, And if you wanted to add the fifth, make sure it's affordable.
Okay, we got down a rabbit hole of of marketing
Yeah,
and
I'm the
building
rabbit hole
effectiveness. I
king.
love it.
Rabbit hole king over here. I just
I'm
like
just as bad.
spitting. Yeah, it's
I love
horrible.
it. I love it. Okay, so I'd like to touch on, Stefano, the business partnership. Like, what are a few lessons you've been able to learn from that? With you and Nick growing this successful empire, learning all these hard lessons along the way, getting along with each other, and
Yeah.
how have you guys been able to navigate that? Like, what are a few key lessons we're able to take away from this?
This one's really important to me for sure because me and my partner Nick, like we're not just like partners, we're like straight up brothers. Lots of loyalty, lots of respect. You know, we have a little bit of our own brotherhood going on. A lot of the same morals. So you know, we're very much the same people in that regard, but our skills and ability need to be different. So for partnerships, like you don't just like find a friend that you went to high school with and be like, let's start a business together, buddy. Like that's like the last thing you want to do. You want to make sure that one partner has different skill set than the other and provides value in a different way. And I think if you guys could get along, you could build any great partnership that way. But you got to stay in your own lane. The moment one partner tries to do the other partner's job or vice versa, it's just like it just starts not making sense. It confuses the people underneath, right? So your managers and then your employees, like if they get orders from me and then Nick comes along and gives orders as well, it just like it starts causing a bunch of confusion. You know what I mean? Things like that. So if you're going to have a partnership role in a business, everybody's got to know their roles and responsibilities, and they got to stick to that. I think when picking a partner, you got to look at three things, in my opinion. Does this partner have more time than I do? Like, do they have different time than I do? Does this partner have money that I don't have? Okay. And then number three, does this partner have skills that I don't have? It could be one of the three, and that's how you could choose the right partner, or it could be all three, or it could be two of the three. It doesn't matter. But I really think that those are the three things that you should look for in a partner: time, money, skills. So that's my personal opinion. Yeah.
It's awesome. And you highlighted this, and I'm glad you did, like really being able to find individuals that complement each other, right? And making that clear throughout the whole organization. Because if, you know, people are going to you about the same issues they're going to Nick about, then that's going to be an issue and be a whole fuck around, right?
Oh yeah, it's just with snowballs. With
our organization as well, like not a partner, but just our operations manager is we're so black and white and we work together. Like he's, you know, defense, make sure everything's efficient and runs good, but also the guy who's super, you know, needs to get shit done. And then I'm oftentimes a little bit too nice and always in the offense mode, pushing things forward, too optimistic many times. And having that complement each other is you know, I can't stress that enough. And if you're just getting a buddy to go into business with, it's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work. That's ultimately how you set yourself up for failure. Just do that. Go find a friend, be completely alike, be completely the same person, and go into business together. Provide the same amount of money, same amount of value, same amount of skills, and go and start a business and watch how well it goes. I'm joking. Don't do that.
So recap, the time, we'll compare if you're going into business with someone, their time, the money, and the skills, all of those three things. Okay, so I'd like to speak on how you value your team, your culture, but also the importance of delegating with growing organizations. Because when you're just starting out a one-man show, it's easy to do your whole runaround and you think you can do everything. You're a superhero CEO, right? But it's so important scaling, being able to let go in a controlled fashion and delegate.
Yeah, absolutely. Delegating, I could say when you are delegating tasks, you got to make sure you could delegate it to the right person, because that could be a bottleneck within your company as well. So in my position currently right now, you know, being the CEO of Northern Snow and Northern Lawns, my responsibility and focus is always more towards, you know, kind of like pushing the vision for the company. Like seeing where we're going and then being able to deliver getting there from an investment standpoint, marketing standpoint, office standpoint, all the above, backed up by connections and just a whole other world of different things to be able to accomplish those goals. But the biggest thing is being in the position is I find myself spread thin a lot, doing a lot of different things. So I try to bring my core focus back to the bigger picture, which is getting to where we want to go. So I try to be a delegating machine as much as I can for the right tasks. But then there's certain things that I'm like, I need to do this because it needs to be a certain way. And I know that nobody's going to work as hard as I'm going to work on it. So I can't delegate everything, but there is a lot of things that I try to delegate down to our managers. Me and Nick have a good partnership as well. So he's able to take a good workload off my plate as well and take care of the whole financial and administrative aspect of the business, which is amazing. So I really just always am thinking about where we're going and fulfilling that gap of where we are now and how we're going to get there. And that gets boiled down to, like I said, just improving service, investing, connections, innovating every aspect possible to be able to achieve those things. Keeping the whole company on board with the vision is big. Like your team's got to have confidence in you. You know what I mean? Like they do. Like they got to look at Stefano and be like, you know what? I trust that motherfucker. He's gonna get us there. So I'm always like
show up every time.
Yes, exactly. So sheer confidence and, just make sure that you're serious. I think that you should be serious being a CEO for sure. But also not lenient is the word I'm looking for. You got to be a little bit realistic because you got to understand humans, and humans are not robots and they're not going to be perfect. And if you're trying to be too black and white sometimes, you'll leave a sour taste in people's mouth, and then they'll start to begin to kind of disrespect you or not really appreciate you. And it kind of gets a little bit rough. So I'll know right away. I'm really good at reading energy. One of my guys is off. They start treating me different. They're not being how they usually are with me. I know that I possibly left a sour taste in their mouth, or there's something they want to talk about or they're upset about, and I'll just confront them until I get it out of them. Like I have to.
It's a very transparent line of being like chop and straight to business. But also like, being a good person to them, someone they look up to, but also can there's a time and place for everything. And the joking around is a side that needs to come out, but balancing that out is super important.
There's a time and a place. Absolutely. I think you got to really understand humans as well. Like if you're really good with your emotional intelligence and you could really read people well, that's a good characteristic trait to have as a CEO, or any sort of manager. Anybody who's providing leadership really needs to have that skill set, because you kind of got to like be able to adapt yourself to the environment at that time and be different in every situation based on the energy. Cause like sometimes like people can't control their emotions, and I could get people to really calm down or be happy or chuckle or really work hard at something because I know how to approach them. I approach them with the right energy, the right characteristics, the right traits, and the right emotion. Okay. And I see really easily how I could get people to act and do certain things for me. So it's persuasion to a certain extent. And then I'm not going to say you should ever manipulate anybody, but there comes a certain time where you need to be able to have that skill set to have people do what you need them to do for you. And leadership is a big thing. So people got to have respect for you. But that comes with like, if I was always serious all the time, I would never have anybody listen to me. I don't think. If I was really cutthroat and rude and arrogant, like nobody would respect me. Nobody would go the extra mile for me. Nobody would bend over for the company. Nobody'd be able to see the vision. It's like I'm able to adapt.
Because there'd be no value in when you when you get red hot or when you are serious, right? If you're serious and chop all the time, then they're gonna be like, oh, this is just Stefano again, right?
Yeah, so I'm very much different in every situation depending on how the energy is in the room. Sometimes I need to take control of it and bring it to a different area. If things are really negative, I'm like, okay, we got to bring this to a positive aspect. If it's like everybody's in a joking state and we need to focus, okay, I'll dial it in that way. But it's your approach where you will get the success for men to do what you need them to do for you. If you want people to listen to you, it's your approach. Okay. You got to have the right energy coming forward, and you'll get anybody to do anything for you.
How to Win Friends and Influence People, Buck, eh?
Yeah. I've actually never read that book. I mean, this is just really natural. Like just for me,
It's
like
wired into you.
yeah, wired into me. And I love people, and I think not everybody loves me, but a lot of people do like me, and I could have a lot of open conversations with people, and people feel comfortable with me. I really do think that's just a normal skill I was born with, right?
So we've talked about some of more like the industry specific issues, I guess, or hard knocks, good lessons that needed to happen over the last few years, and especially 2 seasons ago. What are some more of the business side of things that you were able to take away from this past season, but also 2 seasons ago? I know that was probably a massive turning point, a learning opportunity for you guys.
You want to ask me my biggest lesson learned?
Lessons and hard knocks that you're able to take away from, I know the snow business, it's a gladiator sport.
Oh, it's gladiator for sure. Number one for me was the biggest lesson I've ever learned in this business was definitely I don't want to say going too big too quick, because that's not even the truth, but I want to say that not paying enough attention to the investments I was making from an operational standpoint. And the thing was, is I was very inexperienced, but I think I could have done some more diligent research. And I think that I could blame a lot of circumstances. Like, I bought all my John Deeres during COVID because there was nothing left. And that was the actual truth of why I ended up going to all John Deeres. But at the same time, it's something that burns a hole in my stomach, because I committed to buying a bunch of equipment that fit our business model, but wasn't the right equipment when I had the right equipment right at my fingertips the whole time. So I started my fleet with Kubota, moved to all John Deere, bought a bunch of slightly used crap at inflated prices at high interest rates, because that's all I could get my hands on, and then ended up going just back to Kubota. So that was like biggest mistake I've ever made in business. That costed me like, I can't even quantify the number, because it's disgusting amounts. You can't even add it up. Like, it's not possible. From like damages, from guys hopping out of machines, parts, getting out of the equipment now, the interest rates that everything was bought in at, how much repairs I've had to do to a lot of them. It's not quantifiable, but it was the biggest mistake I've ever made. And the hardest lesson I've learned in this company was that side of the business, investing into the wrong equipment.
What's the importance to you of mentors?
I don't have a mentor. I have a lot of people that I've been in good communication with, and I need to shout some people out, because I definitely owe them their respect right now. But for this business model, if there's somebody who has definitely helped me out a lot, his name is Glenn Hilliker. Shout out Glenn, love you to death, man. I've never even met him in my whole life, but we've talked a bunch from my journey. He was the first guy I talked to from the business model, and he answered a lot of my questions and helped me in some very dark times. Another guy lately who's been helping me with a few questions, concerns, and innovating solutions, and really has got my wheel turning is Jim McKenzie. His daughter Sarah McKenzie, her husband Dimitri. There's tons of people in this business that I definitely communicate with. But if I had to choose, like, some mentors who I look up to, it's like Glenn, Jim, Sarah, Dimitri as well, being involved with them. But I really don't have a mentor. Like, there's nobody that like I call to help me out and coach me and stuff like that to keep growing this business. I have a lot of people now asking me questions, and I don't have a full grip on this business. I can't say that confidently, but I definitely understand it really well. I know how to scale it. I definitely know how to pick the right equipment. I know how to deal with the employees. Like, there's a lot of things I've learned in this business, but mentors, like, no, I'd love a mentor. I wish there was a whale with like 20,000 driveways from the other side of the world, or other side of Canada, if you will, that like I could do calls with, and he could teach me things about this business, because everything, to answer you, has been the world and school of hard knocks. Everything. I've had to spend stupid amounts of money to learn really simple lessons that I could have just learned from somebody else. That hurt me. Okay. Lots of it hurt me. And this goes, I'm going to say this because it's really important. Don't look at what another business is doing and try and copy them. Okay. Sometimes it'll work, but most times it won't. You need to go through your own world of hard knocks and lessons, and really experience stuff within your own company and mold it the way you want it to be. Make it your own. Okay. So there's a lot of people in this industry, they don't like Kubota. They think Kubota's junk and they run all John Deere. Well, I'm different. I want to run all Kubota. Some people run different blowers. I want to run my own. So I looked at what a lot of other people did too. I tried to piggyback what they did. That was another reason I got into the John Deeres. And it's just because it works in their marketplace doesn't mean it's going to work in yours, or in their business and in yours. So just be authentic, be your own person, do your thing, see what works for you, test, try, repeat, fail. But if I could say one thing, if you could have a mentor and he's making good money and he has a successful business, fuck it. Why not? Copy and paste. I never had that. So I had to build everything from the ground up with very little understanding of this business model, and talking to guys from a whole different marketplace, like they're on the other side of Ontario, other side of Canada, and it's just a whole different world, whole different playing field, whole different league. So a lot of things they do there are different from what I do here. And I had to go through the school of hard knocks, baby. Spend a lot of money, learn a lot of lessons.
Well, that's why we're doing this stuff now, right? Like, we're putting this out there for people who do want to learn this, who can maybe make their school of hard knocks slightly more simple or less challenged than ours, right? And but also learning to thrive and go towards that. Like, we know it's going to suck, but we're going to push through, and what's on the other side of it is so worth it. And another thing I want to highlight of yours that I felt was super important was picking different things from different people. And I'm sure you don't call them mentors, but people that you look up to. And there's probably something that you pick and take from everyone and make it your own, and what works for you in your unique market. So I think that's important to highlight, whether it's snow or not, is important in any business.
Absolutely.
Now, I've before we wrap this up, I've whether we keep this in or not, I want to ask a few like more personal questions, and I think it'd be good for people to hear. And if it doesn't work out, whatever. But in Oakville here, we talked about having our, like, this me personally, having your offer dialed in a market that works. We got our market is high end, like residential people in Oakville, but when we get 4 inches of snow, 6 inches maybe this year, what do you have to say to serving clients like that in a industry that is so dependent on the scale, right? Like, scaling a business where the hungry crowd is not there is what I really struggled with. And I find I'm the opposite of you, of really trying to figure out what works for us in the winter. And you found that really early on, but we're a bit more still figuring out for the summer. But I'm completely lost in the winter. Commercial snow, residential, this and that. Like,
that's how I feel.
Thoughts on that?
That's how I feel in the summer. I'm not completely lost. I have a good grip now, but like scaling it, like the snow business is, I know it's not going to be the same. I'm more sticking to this lawn company because it's such an easy cross sell over for our customers. They stay under one company for all their like residential property needs. And that's why I'm doing it. But like, it doesn't have the starving crowd that the snow does. So the thing is, you could have your offer dialed in, you could provide tremendous amounts of value, but like, you missed the first step. And the first step is having the starving crowd, picking the right market and having a growing market or a growing niche of a crowd of people that really, really have a demand for something. So snow is huge demand here. Residential snow is massive. Like, Like the
You
amount of
guys went
snow
out,
we
what,
get.
40 times 2 years ago or something crazy?
Yeah. 2 years ago, I went out 42 times. Year before that was like in the 30s. Last year was in the 30s. And then this year was the lightest year Sault Ste. Marie's like ever experienced from as far as everybody I've talked to, people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s is the lightest year anybody's ever seen. We only went out 22 times this year. And then a lot of them were unnecessary, like they were under our 5 centimeter trigger. But I don't know how the landscape is out there in Oakville. I know that it's a high economy, so people got money. So selling them the service will be easy. You check that box off. That's one of the boxes to check. Picking the right market, snow, there's a market for snow there. So that's the right box. Niching it down to residential snow blowing, checked off another box. Now being able to crank up the heat and scaling it is possible, but there's some things that I would need to learn about the marketplace to answer that question correctly for you. I'm guessing people want a lower snow trigger, so you'd be more successful going out for 1 inch as opposed to 5 centimeters. That's something I do in your marketplace, especially with people that have a bit more money and being in an economy and part of Ontario that snows a little bit less. The starving crowd's not there so much because you guys don't get a lot of snow. So you got to provide value in different ways, going out for less snow, right? So customers get their money's worth. You might have to do things like salting or ice melting for residential homeowners, for them to experience some value in that regard. That could be under a contract price or an upsale. It could be something completely different, however you want to make it. I think you probably need to provide shoveling as well. Like I know Oakville slightly. I've been there twice. Absolutely gorgeous place. The economy's through the roof there. It's all high end, not rich people, I should say, but very, very, very well off people. And I think there's certain standards there, as opposed to here, like we have all gravel driveways, we get tons of snow and people just want the job done.
Get out of the driveway.
Yeah, with value, of course, but like it is such a need here. It's like if you don't have a snow blowing service and you don't have a snowblower, really good snowblower, you ain't getting out of your fucking driveway. Where I know that doesn't really happen in Oakville too often. So you got to look to provide value in different ways for it to be able to start becoming a very demand service, if you will. So I think how you could break through with that in your marketplace without ever even, being there to experience a winter. I think you should lower your trigger. So go out for 1 inch. If you're doing 5 centimeters, get the fuck away from that. Because if I'm doing 5 centimeters where I live, you sure as hell shouldn't be. So boil it down to 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch trigger. See how much of a demand shoveling is. Shoveling is like a 10% out of our 100% demand. So we decided to get rid of it. Might bring it back. Don't want to say that we'll get rid of it forever, but we'll see. So shoveling might be something that you might need to provide as a service because customers are looking for that. And then the only other thing I could see is the de-icing or salting or sanding. So all like these things wouldn't work in my marketplace. I'd have to charge a hell of a lot more money and it's not what people are looking for. So when I niche down to residential snow blowing in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, I look for what people want. You know what people want? They want their driveway done more than once in 24 hours. So they want you to come once and then you probably got to come again in 8 hours on a big snowfall because the driveway's filled right back up. They want you to come back when the plow goes by to scrape the streets. Sometimes when they go to grate the streets as well, and they leave all this ice at the end of your driveway because we get a lot of hard pack here because of the snow accumulation. So they look for value in different ways, where I think your marketplace would look for value in just like having a wipe ass service, if you know what I mean. Like literally, like my driveway, I could see the
Black
pavers all. Yeah, they want to see the pavers all year long, and that's not possible where we live, but it's possible where you live. So I think that, yeah, man, 1 inch trigger, maybe some salting or de-icing. I think de-icing is really cool. If you look more into that, there's a lot of guys down in Montreal and really, really nice cities, if you will, that have like these pieces of equipment that attach on the back of the blower and they spray ice as they're exiting not spray ice. They spray ice removal, like the spray out of the back of the blower while they're dragging out with the inverted. So they're doing two things at once. They're blowing the snow from the driveway and they're also leaving that fluid to de-ice the driveway after they've exited. So things like that I think would do really well in your marketplace. Like if I was in Oakville, that's what I would do. I do 1 inch trigger. I'm just guessing. I don't know how much of a demand it is for ice melt, but I'm assuming it's huge because people are really picky there. I do ice melt, and then I'm guessing shoveling would be another big one. So everybody in Oakville,
Non-negotiable.
see, there you go, right? So I wouldn't even make it like you could get shoveling service or you can't. Like I'd probably just boil it down to, sure, you could have different packages or just offering one complete solution. I take care of your driveway. It's done with a snowblower, not a plow, so you could expect hardly any damages. You're gonna not want to run stainless steel where you are because I've seen the driveways out there. They're way too nice to put a stainless steel blade on.
And at the same time, a rubber cutting edge isn't getting the scrape that they're wanting.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, dude. I don't know how much you want to sacrifice scratching one of those driveways. So you could run stainless steel. Don't get me wrong, you could. Man, we have some gorgeous driveways here. 3,300 customers. We scratched 2 this year. 2. With the rubber, I scratched like 15, 20, and I spent way more money. So you could still run with the stainless steel. Just make sure you soften your blades up. You know, I got some videos on YouTube about that. Make sure you dull them down a bit so they're not as aggressive on the interlock. But you could also go like a poly or a Teflon or something like that. That wouldn't be too bad either. But the thing is the scrape's not going to be the same. But you are pouring the ice melt, which helps. But yeah, ice melt, shoveling, and going for a lower trigger, man. I think those are what's really gonna blow it up for you down there.
So like we found our routes, like, and I know you guys, your tractors are probably working 95% of the time, like in driveways. Our tractors were driving 55% of their night, like just driving because our routes aren't dense. And
yeah,
like we only service 200 driveways. So, and you're saying just really push the value, sticking to the model, say, like make it known the value to build that density. Is that where you're?
Yeah, no, I just really think that I think that you've done everything well. Now you just got to work on being different. So right now you're different. You're solving a unique problem, and you have a unique solution. Okay, which big check mark there. But how unique is it? Like how much better could you make it? Like how different could you be? So these are the things I'm telling you that you could stick out from a normal guy in Oakville who uses a plow truck or a direct competitor who uses a tractor with an inverted blower. Like you gotta start innovating, start improving your service, start providing more value to the customer, and be a different business. So bring in the ice melt if that's something that's high in demand. If it's not, double down on the shoveling. If people want good scrape quality, invest into getting the right cutting edges. And that's just from the experience standpoint. There's other things too you could back up with, like having the text alerts, live GPS map. Like there's so many things you could do, having an application. Like, I mean, I could go on and on and on. It could really never end for a customer experience and providing more value in your business. You could always get better every year, even if it's 1%. But in these earlier stages, it's not just 1%. Like every year you should be improving your service like through the moon, man, like over the moon. Like you should be trying to go as hard as you can without overspending as well. So make sure you're conscious of that.
Well, and then at the same time, Stefano, like I'm looking at the numbers of like your men, your tractors, and we're only able to do like 60 houses on a route. And then
that's where I started.
Revenue,
That's where I started. 60 houses on a row, 50, 60 houses. Yeah, that's perfect. You should be driving half the time. You should be blowing half the time and driving half the time. And then once you really scale it up, then you'll be blowing all the time. You're literally just basically shuffling from house to house at that point. You don't even drive.
Yeah. So it's just getting past this standstill until the routes get dense enough. But
yeah, man. I think that you got to find what the customers want though. So I don't know, how much do you think there's a starving crowd for snow removal in Oakville for residential, for snow blowing, I should say, because you're not doing removal.
How would you quantify it? Like the
no, I'm asking like
street?
No, I'm just asking like how much of a demand do you think it is?
I would say it's I don't know, like out of 10 houses, there's probably 3 of them that hire snow removal.
That's great. That's really good. Jesus Christ, that's like here. That's awesome. Yeah, and I know they can because they got the money down there, especially too. So number one, that's a huge box check. Do you listen to customers? What do they want? Is there anything they look for at all? Like, do they want shoveling? Do they want a clean scrape?
Shoveling's like we shovel everyone. That's non-negotiable.
Okay, there you go. So
quicker service, obviously.
So so quicker service, you're going to nail that right away with having the software. You're going to nail that with having the right tractor with the right blower, and you're going to nail that with the right operator. And then as for the shoveling, you're going to nail that by having a shovel fabricated to the back of each one of your tractors. And if this works for you, I haven't tried this ever, but I think it's a decent idea just from a cost standpoint, because it's so expensive to like pay a guy in a truck separately to go and do shoveling when like there's a piece of equipment that has already brought in a human to that property. He might as well do the driveway and shovel at the same time. So how that would look is he pulls up to the property, he gets out, grabs a shovel, pushes all the snow from the walkway into the driveway, pushes all the snow from the garage door in front of the garage door into the driveway, and then he cleans it with the blower. It goes on to his next house. If you really need to provide shoveling in your marketplace, because it's going to be every single house, I'd probably do it different. I'd actually probably do it with guys in a truck if it becomes that dense, because it wouldn't make sense for the guy to leave the machine. But if you were like, say you offer it as an optional service and maybe 25% of your customers take shoveling and 75 don't, I would do it with the shovel on the back of the tractor. It'll save you a lot of money. There's no profit in offering shoveling service if you're going to pay a whole separate guy to drive a whole separate truck and drive from house to house to do shoveling. There's no money in it unless you're charging through the roof.
And then my thought was how, like on the other side of that, having your tractors working as much as possible, having those blower augers running as much as possible throughout the night, and then using equipment that's already paid for through your summer services, like a truck, to be able to send another crew out. And then also, like, I just struggle to wrap my head around this piece of equipment that is only working for half of the year.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that?
The business makes enough money for your equipment to sit all summer, but you got to buy the right equipment. So I think that like if my whole fleet was John Deere 6110Ms, which is a very expensive, large piece of equipment, not only would I have some pissed off customers because it's too big, some would argue, but I think it's a little bit too big for residential snow. We would also basically put all our money into equipment and have no profit left over. That's why it's really important to pick the right equipment, because you could really easily overspend on equipment and then have no profit left in this business because it's going to sit all summer. Unless like some smart people, you know, like my friends from Capital, they run all John Deere 6110Ms, 9,000 driveways, 8,000 driveways they do. They have like 80 tractors, all big 6 series, and they rent them out to farmers in the summer. But I don't have that luxury here being in the Rocky North. Like I don't have a lot of farmland around me. So it'd be very difficult for me to do that. So that's why I buy the small machines. The small machines are like a third of the price, half the price. They're very efficient in my opinion too, especially once you get to scale. And that's how you could endure having those pieces of equipment over the summer, making payments on them without them providing revenue for you. Also, another thing to get at too is like if you're using these in the summer, putting hours on them, beating the shit out of them, they're not going to last as long as you need them to in the snow removal business as well. You're going to be putting more money into maintenance, more money into mechanical stuff, etc. Where it's like we actually put 200 to 300, 400 hours at most a season on these pieces of equipment. They sit in nice, beautiful undercoat. We take the batteries out, put them back in, take them for a little drive every 2 weeks, keep all the gear and axles and everything moving nicely. And they just sit and they're ours. They don't get rented out. We don't beat the shit out of them doing anything else. They just blow snow. You're not going to be able to accomplish doing this unless you pick the right piece of equipment that you know you could afford to pay for over the summer.
So I like at the point we're at with still growing and being so small, saying no to commercials has been hard for me. What is your suggestions with that?
This is the hardest thing ever.
Like it's the same thing though. You can provide all this value and only attract sure it's cutthroat, but you can only attract the really good commercials or the guys who are willing to pay for your service.
That's a decision you need to make, brother. I'm being straight up with you. You got to kind of, if you want to be really good at one thing, you got to choose one or the other. I mean, like there's guys who are successful with doing commercial, man, there is, and they're successful doing residential, but it took them like 22 or 23 years to scale up their business. And for all I know, it might look good from the outside, but internally it might just be a big unorganized fucking mess. So I truly believe, like, and I could prove it myself. If you just do one thing and you put your heart and soul into it and you beat it to a pulp and you learn everything about that one thing, you're going to be able to scale it, know it, have a grip on it, be confident in it. And it just helps a lot. Commercial's a different business, dude. That's why I said, like, from the beginning, you found the right market, but now you gotta niche it down. Like, you got to just pick one thing, in my opinion, if you want to go all in with it. So you got to choose one or the other. And I know there's money in commercial. I know there's money in plowing, salting, sanding, all that sort of stuff. I know you probably got the trucks you already purchased for it, but listen, it's the cold hard truth. It's one or the other. I'm not saying you can't be successful at both, but you'll never be like
I agree.
at just the one thing, you know. Like, say for example, me and you were in the same marketplace. We had the same like skill set. We were like the same people, if you will, twins. Fuck it, same brain, same everything. Okay. If I was just doing residential snow and you were doing residential snow and commercial, in the long term, I would fucking kill you. That's just how it would go. And you know that's just how it works, right? Like,
and I agree. I'm just struggling to find the passion and not so much the passion of like what we're gonna do and stick to and say no to the other bullshit. And I can relate when you talk about the summer where you're kind of bouncing around and figuring out what it is. Like I feel the exact same way with with the other side of things. And my thought this year was like our ideal client for hardscape work and construction is residential. So tap into those people and.
Yep.
That was really the only why behind
I like, knowing people like myself and seeing other people in the industry do so successful with residential and, it becoming now a really, really hot business to be in because the aging population's going up. Like I said, people are becoming lazier and the aging population's going up. Like, you're killing two birds with one stone being in this market. That's the gold in it, right? So I think that you choosing residential snow is in your best interest, and you should go all into that and nothing else. Commercial is very competitive, and I think that there's big money in there as well. But it's like there's just big fish and small fish. That's kind of usually how it goes in there. And the big fish eats everything up, gets all the good work, and then the small fish just eat onto all the little things. Like, you're able to come into residential snow and just make it your own thing and completely blow it up in whatever way you want. You have that ability. And there's nobody really in Oakville right now with the model that you're going to be bringing there. So like, you'd be dumb to not get commercial snow out of your brain, out of your head, get the fuck away from it, go all into residential, learn everything about residential, beat it to a fucking pulp, and then blow it up. That's what you got to do, man. I'd be 1/3 of the size if I did commercial at the same time as this business. And I would know half of what I know about this business if I did commercial at the same time. Your
guys, like, we went out 3 times, dude.
Yeah, I know. That's difficult.
But also the year before, we only went out 5 times, whereas you guys went out 40. And my thing, like, commercial, it's required with these plazas, these businesses, you need a snow company. But these, like, sure, there's the aging population going up, but people are seeing like, well, shit, the last 2 winters were bad.
That's a problem. That's a problem. See, like, that's with choosing the right market. That's why it's a huge box you need to check off. I don't think that you're in a bad market. I think that now hearing that the demand is going to be a little bit more difficult, but hearing that 3 in 10 homeowners still buy snow removal, that's why you need to sell it as a contract-based model, flat rate. Try and take care as much as you can around their house. And I think you'll get a lot of people to sign up that way. I don't know entirely what the approach would be, but just try and go all in with it and test it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to fail in 2-3 fucking years. You're going to be 22, 23, 24 years old. Who gives a fuck? Go all into one thing, whether you choose commercial or residential, beat it to a pulp. Don't give up. Give it 5 years at the very least. Put your heart and soul into it and take it from there.
Awesome. I'd love to hear, I don't know how the hell we're going to edit this, but a standard that like you hold your whole company to be as disciplined and as like fired up every time you guys go out, like that's required to maintain your level. of service and quality?
Oh, dude. Okay. So first and foremost, guys come in, a big thing. If you want to keep humans happy, food, number one, like food. I think that's number one. So we have vending machines inside our garage when we're waiting to go out, which is nice. Guys could do that, go and pay for an energy drink or candy or whatever they want, chips before they go out. So having food's awesome. Number two, having like the white glove treatment. I'm talking about my business. Okay. That's what I'm going to talk about here. For my operators, having them come in and their tablets turned on, ready to go, and their tractor is already warmed up. Like, all we do is go sit your ass in that thing and work for 10, 12 hours. That's what really, really works well for us. Okay. Making sure managers and like myself, big smile on my face. I'm joking around with guys. I got the cameras out. Whatever. Maybe some music might be playing. Like, you just got to keep it positive, keep it happy. Don't keep it so like just, I was going to say Nazi style, but that's not a good thing to say, but just don't keep it like that. Don't run your business so strict like that. Loosen up a little bit. This is 2024, man. Okay. This isn't 1980s, 1970s, 1960s. Like, this is a different time. Okay. You got to be loose with guys. You got to be understanding. You got to carry the right energy forward. You got to be able to hear them, listen to them, and just be a positive guy and bend a little bit for them. Okay. They're humans. They got emotions. They need to be heard and talked to. And I think that if you're not always so hardcore and pushy on them, you'll get people to do what you need them to do for the company. If you're not lenient, but you gotta have the balance. Okay. I spoke about this earlier. Just have that balance. So creating the good culture, man. Food, lots of food, smiles on everybody's faces, joking around, get the cameras out, put people on the spot, take some funny videos, and just show passion in your company. Like, have the managers, everybody in apparel, everybody branded up, wear that brand on the side of your arm, wear that brand on your chest, be proud of the company you work for and you've built, and spread that energy on top of other people as well. So just like take pride too. That's another big thing. Like, don't be coming in to operations and, you're like wearing like, I don't know, like you got your Gucci trench coat on and then all your guys are in Visi vests. Like, if you're going to be involved and you're going to be in the guts of the business, you got to be the leader. Okay. Everybody's got to follow the leader. So wear the right gear and just have everybody look up to you, not look down. That's for sure.
It's all contagious.
Yeah, man, exactly. It's really easy, to be honest. It's not difficult. It's a lot of common sense stuff, right? But people just don't do that.
Awesome. Listen, let's wrap this show up. I appreciate it, Stefano. That was an awesome chat.
Dude, I wish we would have done this in person. In person would have been awesome because I really love Oakville.
I know it's a little bit of a hike between us.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll be up there soon again. I'm coming down actually next weekend, but I'm staying in Toronto. I make it up there quite a bit, so we'll definitely do another one. Next one we'll save for in person, and I'd love to come see you face to face. There's a beautiful restaurant I went to down in your hometown. I think it's called Joey's. Is it called Joey's?
Yeah.
Dude, what a restaurant! That's a big passion of mine. Is going out.
Hit it again. Let me know when you're down here and. Leave people like where can they find you? Where does all your magic happen? You're everywhere, it seems, but like where can they find what you guys have going on?
Oh, another huge passion. All the magic can be found, of course, on YouTube. I have so many videos of us vlogging, going out for snow events. I've filmed every single snow event that my company has endured. In the last 2 years, I haven't missed one episode. So if you ever want to watch our vlog style videos of our snow events, I have from 1 to 20 this year, and then from 1 to 28 last year. I am missing a couple that were like really, really, really light snowfalls that we went out for, and I said, I'm not filming this. This is just like embarrassing. So there's like 2 missing from each season. But if you want to watch my vlog style videos, go check me out. YouTube, I got tons on there. I got videos pertaining to this business model and certain things I could help you guys out with to be able to get into this business and grow yours. I got some podcasts, not too much personal stuff on there. I'm going to break into who I am, what I like to do soon, but just kind of breaking the ice with the business aspect. And then if you want to, see some shorts, and whatnot like that, like reels and stuff. You could check me out on Instagram, Stefano Narducci, YouTube, Stefano Narducci, TikTok, Stefano Narducci, and then Facebook as well.
Awesome, brother.
Yes,
Thanks
sir,
again.
man. Charlie, appreciate you, bro. Thank you.